So you've left that whole side open.
All right, getting it on, you know how to do 3 sides.
Yes.
Just a reminder that when you start the first side, like here,
right,
leave a tail.
A long tail.
A long tail, as long as you can spare.
Okay.
All right. When you get all the way around to that side again, go just a short distance into the side.
Okay.
All right. Smooth out your tail, lining up the seam here, where you began.
Okay.
Take the one that you're working on, line it up, nice and neat. Where that tail ends, fold it back so that the fold butts up against the end of the tail where you started.
Okay, so it doesn't overhang, it just butts up against it.
Just butts up against it.
Okay.
Fold it back neatly.
Okay.
From that fold, measure a distance that equals the width of your binding strip when it's laid out flat. So this one is 2.5 inches.
Okay.
All right. And mark it. And
so that's from where the two of them join.
Yeah, you can use pencil or chalk.
Okay. And it's 2.5 inches up on the folded back side of the binding, right? Not on the tail?
Absolutely. This is the tail.
Okay.
We know that opened, this binding is 2.5 inches.
Right.
See?
Okay.
But your fold up against that tail, from the fold, measure 2.5 inches. And I'm sure there's some formula that explains why this works, but it works.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
So it just works.
Okay.
You'll see why in a minute. All right? Now, cut it off where you marked the 2.5 inches.
Okay.
Nice and straight across.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Now look at it. This is important, especially if you're perceptually challenged, as I am. When it's done, you want it to be right sides together and flat against the mat. So what I do is I open both of these.
Okay.
I say, okay, right now they're going this way. I want them to be right sides together.
Okay.
Okay, but I'm not just going to make a straight seam across.
Okay.
I want a nice diagonal seam because it'll lay flatter.
Okay.
All right. So to do that, I have to switch one of them. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I turned it so that instead of having
them
raw edges together this way,
right,
I have moved that
so
raw edge 90
degrees. Okay.
So that it's now this way.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now you can see why you need all that loose end.
Right, because you need, okay.
Okay.
Right.
And I pin it. Because otherwise I need 3 hands.
Right.
Okay, so I pin. So what I did was just swivel it around so that the top of the beginning of the strip is on the side of the ending of the strip, see? But they're still right sides together.
Right.
Now when I make a diagonal seam and open it, see, it's not going to be a big lump there.
Okay.
It's going to be nice and flat.
Right.
Now watch. I have to fold this so that I have enough to work with here and can get it to lay flat under the machine. This is the clumsiest part.
Now, how do you know if you don't make a mark like on the diagonal? How do you know that you're sewing
Here's
in the right
what
place?
I do. Watch. I make sure they're flat.
Right.
I put the point going up right through the needle.
Okay.
And I bring the needle down on it.
Okay.
And the presser foot down.
Okay.
This point, see how this guide has a line that's the needle path?
Right, yes, I do.
It has a 1/4 inch needle path and a 1/4 inch on the other side.
Okay.
I put this point there. Alternatively, I could draw a line
Right.
and sew on the line.
So, but you are sewing down straight down the diagonal. You're not leaving a 1/4 inch on either side of the diagonal.
I'm sewing straight down the diagonal.
Okay.
And if it looks like it's going to run over a pin, you know you take the pins out.
Mm-hmm.
Straight down the diagonal. This is why one of the reasons why I like this angler is that you don't have to draw those lines anymore when you're going to make triangles.
Right.
Because they're marked here.
Okay.
All right. Then I trim this, but before I trim the seam, I make sure that I didn't double twist this.
Okay.
And that it's still going to be flat. Because one of the things that I wind up doing is somehow I get this twisted over an extra time, and then it looks like that. All right, so that's going to be perfect. See how it's going to fit?
Right.
All right, here's what I do now. I trim this to 1/4 inch.
Mm-hmm.
I take my finger pressing tool.
I don't have one of those.
They're very handy. See what it looks like?
Yes.
If you're holding it in your right hand, the side with the R should be at the top.
Right.
If you're holding it in your left, that way.
Right.
Because I'm not going to run to the iron to do this.
Right.
And I just press that seam. I just mash it right down to get a good crease. Get the stitches to lock in. Okay?
Okay.
There we go. Then, because it fits perfectly,
Wow.
I just put it back on.